Gennady Golovkin retains his middleweight world titles with a 12-round unanimous decision over Danny Jacobs. Now, this is definitely going to be an extremely controversial result for a lot of people. The Box Nation commentators, for example, had Danny Jacobs winning this fight narrowly. I personally felt like Danny Jacobs was the winner by several rounds. I actually thought that it wasn't particularly competitive. Apart from 1 or 2 rounds that Golovkin won, including a round where he scored a knockdown in the 4th, I thought that Danny Jacobs was actually schooling Gennady Golovkin. I'd like to watch the fight again. Maybe I wasn't seeing certain things that the judges were seeing. I don't know. So I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt, watch the fight again and see. But my initial reaction was that was an absolutely terrible decision, and I thought Danny Jacobs won the fight clearly. At the end of the fight, you look at Golovkin's body language and look at Jacobs' body language. Jacobs had the look of a man who thought like he'd won. Golovkin had a look of a man who thought like he'd lost. Clearly. I have to give a shout out to Bernard Hopkins because he said that Danny Jacobs was going to pull off an upset in this fight. And he was cussed in the comment section of the video where I talked about what Hopkins has said. I have to big Hopkins up because in my eyes, Danny Jacobs did pull off the upset. Hopkins knew what he was talking about, but the judges didn't give Danny Jacobs the decision. And again, I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to watch it again. Maybe I'll score it differently next time. Maybe I'll change my mind. Maybe I'll see it as, okay, I can understand how Golovkin won. But watching it first time around, to me, I'm absolutely baffled. Jacobs looked shocked that he'd lost. I'm shocked, to be honest. I thought it was going to be a unanimous decision for Jacobs. And in fact, when they were reading out the scores, I was shocked that they were so close. As far as the fight itself, Jacobs got better and better as the fight went on, for the most part. He figured out the angles. He was switching from southpaw to orthodox effectively. In the 4th round, he got dropped. He wasn't particularly hurt, I thought. Golovkin pinned him on the ropes, landed 2 right hands, and kind of bundled Danny Jacobs to the floor. It was a genuine knockdown, but I feel like a lot of it was more to do with balance rather than just the effect of the punches. So the fight continued. Jacobs got back on his bike, was moving around the ring, switch hitting southpaw orthodox, landing nice shots. He'd clearly worked on uppercuts for this fight because he'd seen Kell Brook have success with uppercuts against Golovkin in his last fight. And Jacobs was really ripping a lot of uppercuts and also going to the body. And I thought the body shots were really slowing Golovkin down. I don't know what the CompuBox numbers are for this fight, but I would imagine the CompuBox is heavily in favor of Daniel Jacobs, at least in terms of punches thrown. I'm not sure about punches landed, what the CompuBox would have had it. But to me, he was certainly the ring general. He was doing what he wanted in there. He was the more confident guy. Golovkin was very one-paced. There wasn't enough urgency, in my view, from him. It was a case of Jacobs' athleticism and speed and boxing skills combined with his size that was giving Golovkin so much problems. His size and punching power. Golovkin really respected Jacobs' power. That's why he didn't just try and bulldoze him the way he bulldozed Kell Brook, for example. Danny Jacobs definitely looked like the bigger man in there. You know, he looked the bigger, more physically imposing individual. And people have been saying Golovkin is not the biggest middleweight around, and this fight certainly showed it. Danny Jacobs missed the IBF day of the fight weigh-in, so the IBF title was not on the line for him, but the other titles were on the line for him. The WBC, the WBA, etc. They were on the line for Jacobs because they don't have a morning of the fight weigh-in. But that just goes to show the fact that he missed the IBF weigh-in on the day, how big he is. I mean, he made the weight the day before the fight for the other titles, but on the day of the fight, similar to David Lemieux the other weekend, he didn't make the weight. So yeah, he was a big guy, and he was just too big, actually, and strong and athletic for Golovkin to just simply walk through like he's done to everybody else. So despite the fact that Jacobs has lost this fight on the cards, a lot of people are now going to say that the blueprint has been set of how to beat Gennady Golovkin. This is the fight that has made Golovkin look like a mortal. He's no longer the invincible guy anymore after this. You know, whether you agree with the decision or not, you cannot look at that fight and say Golovkin is unbeatable or there's nobody out there that can beat him. You know, he looked very vulnerable. Again, particularly against a big, athletic, fast-moving middleweight like Danny Jacobs. Jacobs was never really bothered, I thought, personally, by Golovkin's power. You know, there was the knockdown in the fourth, but I felt like he was never intimidated. He was actually happy to exchange on the inside a lot of the time with Golovkin. And I thought as the fight went on, he was actually getting the better of those exchanges up close. So how Golovkin ended up with the decision, I don't know. Maybe you guys agree with the decision. Maybe you think Golovkin did deserve, maybe his jab and his pressure and all that kind of stuff. And maybe you're going to say that Danny Jacobs was hitting arms and gloves and elbows and he wasn't landing enough clean shots for you. And you were keeping an eye on the clean shots that Golovkin was landing. Perhaps that's the case. I don't know. Again, I keep saying I want to watch the fight again without sound and score it and see what I think of it round by round. But my initial reaction is that was a terrible decision. I have to say. So drop your comments in the comment section below, people. Did you agree with the decision? Did you think Jacobs deserved it? And do you think that Golovkin has been, I don't even want to say exposed, because Golovkin is an excellent fighter, but maybe exposed in the sense that his invincibility has been debunked, basically. Yeah, maybe you thought he won, maybe, but his invincibility is a myth and he can be beaten, and there are other middleweights out there that might be able to do it. So let me know how you feel in the comment section below, people. It's Hatman, I'm out.